Yes, yo, welcome back to my channel. My name is Promise AK, and on this channel, we talk about data sciences, machine learning, artificial intelligence, or other technological advancements. If you're passionate about any of these topics I've mentioned, please hit the subscribe button so you're part of this community and the notification bell so you're alerted whenever I post any new video. In this video today, I'll be tackling some fundamental Python problems. But before viewing my solution, I encourage and challenge you to give a go at yourself. Try solving it yourself to see how far you can get along. So let's dive in and see how we can crack these problems together. Let's start with name because RS comments stood out for me in the comment section. So we're going to use RS name as the name for this class. So what was the question? Question said, create a variable called name and assign it a value of your name as string, then print hello my name. So there are different ways to go about this. So you could do print hello my name is space, then you could just put a comma and type name, or you could do print hello my name is space, then you put a plus. That's you're kind of concatenating strings together, adding strings together. This also works. You could also do this, what we call f string, formatted string, because with a normal string you can't impute a variable inside your string. But with formatted string, you kind of, it's like more like an escape route. So if I do hello, my name is, when you put your curly bracket, it's more like an escape. Then you can impute a variable. Okay, I didn't include, so the formatted string, you have to include your f before the string. So you should tell it that, okay, I'm going to pick within my string, I'm going to pick a variable. Yeah, by the time you run this, you see that my name is so if you can start assessing yourself already, if you did any of this, you're correct. Yeah, I know some people went and put my name and type the name again. That's not the right way to do this. Some people did something like print my name is, all right. If you did this, you're wrong. It's going to print it out, but this is not the way to use call on your variable that you've already declared. Then the next one is talking about looking at string. So we say write a program that to find how many times substring Emma appears in this text. So we want to count how many times Emma appeared in this text. So it's just a simple thing, just do this dot count. So when you use a text, so it's a string, so you're counting, so you can include the string you want to count for. And if it shows that Emma appears 12 times on the string, I could also, let's count something else. Text dot count. So this, let's count how many times at appeared. And this is, you should know that this is case sensitive. As far as if I do Emma, it's gonna come zero because all Emmas are capital, starts with capital letter. Yeah, so we should string dot count and count a particular string you want to count. So this is another interesting one. I think this is also easy. So it's a list, but within the list you had some duplicates. So now this says create a new list without duplicates. Print out the length of the list before and after removing duplicates. So you could say, let's say print, first of all, print out length of column. Okay, I have to remove this first. I'll just remember to commit to, yeah. So then I could say, so there's something I expected some people to do, because remember when we talked about different data types last week, we talked about list, we talked about tuple, we also talked about set. That set doesn't allow duplicate. So an easy way to do it is to just do something like, let's create a new column, let's say non-duplicate, I could just say equals to, I commit say list. So after before I do list, I could say sets. So changing this to a set. Yeah, then after changing it to set, I could also change it back to a list. So I have my list in taxes about doing lists. So you're converting the list to a set, then set it back to a list with this. So I saw some people did sets in a different line and also did lists. So after they do, so it's still the same shape, but it's just more efficient to just make it in one line. Yeah, by the time you print this, and you can say print out the length of non-dupe, then I can print out my non-dupe. Yeah. By the time you print it, initially it was 8. When I removed my duplicate, it changed to set. And by the time you look at the non-dupe, you see that you don't have the duplicate duplicate green and blue. I knew I saw somebody that started typing without the duplicate. That's not an efficient way. Just imagine you have 10,000 lists. Would you go in one by one to start typing the correct one? So it's just efficient to just use set and remove the duplicate. Yeah, so that's that. Then the next question is question 4. Okay, I think a lot of people struggled with this. Explain the non-dupe. Yeah, so the non-dupe is just like me creating a new variable. But this time I want the new variable to be the non-duplicate. So I know last week I told you about sets. The set data types that doesn't allow duplicate data in it. So even if you put something that is duplicate, it returns only the original item in that without the duplicate. So a way to remove duplicates from any item, maybe a list or a tuple, is to tuple doesn't allow duplicate here. Just to set it to convert it to a set. So you converting it to set removes all the duplicates.
Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah. So what I did was I used a uniquely then list bracket set do call. Then I printed the unique list.
So you can name it whatever you want to name. So this is the name I just call it. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just understanding the process. I can call this thing now. You can call it XXXX. You get. So it depends on whatever you want to call. The variable name doesn't necessarily count. It's understanding what's happening. So you can decide to call it whatever you want to call it. So that doesn't affect anything. No, it doesn't affect it. Yeah. So anything you want to call it, you can call it. So I think this question, I see a lot of people struggle with it. That's why I use this hint using a zip function. Some people started typing keys and value. One easy way to kind of convert lists or series to a dictionary is to use the zip function. So I could call, let's say, dictionary. So before we even do this, I could say, let's print out what zip is. So you could use the zip function to do keys. It kind of zips everything into a particular, this is a function. So you can use the dictionary, converting the zip into a dictionary. So it converts that into, it automatically turns to dictionary using this dict and zip. So you're passing this zip method inside your dictionary that converts these two lists. So you just specify they have to be the same length. For example, if they are different lengths, this wouldn't work. So it has to be the same length to convert this. So I can just create my dictionary is equals to this. I can print out my dictionary. Yeah. So I saw a lot of people started typing. Yeah, this is more efficient to do that. Yeah, and question 5, quick. Everything is you're understanding as we're going through the questions. Yeah. So what I gave you hint, use replace method. So we have our course start date and we have our course end date, right? So one thing we can do is, let me just run this and then add it. So you could do course start dates. Course start date is more like I'm writing the variable I have. You can say dot replace. So what are we replacing? We want to change this comma and space to a slash. So I could do comma space, then put a comma outside. What am I replacing it with? This. So what this does is replace. So before we even convert this to a variable, let me just do this. See what this does. By the time you do this dot replace, you see that's replaced the space and the comma with a slash. So that's what that does. So you could do the same thing for the end dates. The same thing. So you can, at the end of the day, you can still print. Remember our question 1. So it depends on whatever you want to use. You could decide to use the F string. And what was the question? Print out the GNI Python course starts from. So I will use my curly brackets to put out the course start date starts from 2. Then use my curly bracket again and put in the course end date. Then I put my this. By the time we print this, it's so you see GNI course the GNI course Python course starts from this date to this date. Yeah. So you could also use the plus to what we did. You could also do this without using the F string. I could do start from add a plus here, and before I end the string, I have to end the string, then add a plus here also. My toe has to be string. So I saw some people adding after this, they want to put space, they will add two plus again, but when we're doing a space, something like this, and adding plus. Rather than doing this, just before the toe and after the toe, add a space. So just gives you that space, and this you can add a space. So what's happening here? You can, okay, sorry, I don't have to put this here. This has to go. Yeah, so the same thing. So whichever way you go, it still works. Each question had like a purpose and something I was trying to bring out. Yeah. So this is just to tell you, emphasize on replace, and also re-emphasize this how to add strings together. So use either using the formatted string or using different methods. So whatever you did, I think as long as you get the replace method, that works for me. So now question 6 says count all the letters and the digits in code. Check if the string is an alphabet or so. There are many ways to do this, but I think my solution I have is just create an empty string called alphabet. Again, it can be anything you want to call it. You can call it A, you can call it B, then another one you can call it digits. Let me just call it digits. Yeah, it just shows that that's a digit. Yeah, so empty string. Then you do what we call a for loop. I know we're supposed to cover for loop last week, but we couldn't. So before we start today's session, I'll just breeze through for loops and if statements. Yeah. So what a for loop does is you put something like for. So you want to loop through each of. Remember when we talked about string, the first item in the string has 0 index. So you could now let me go into each of them one by one. So say I can say for C in code. Yeah, I can say print C. So it goes into code and start. So this C could be anything. You could say for C, could be, so you could do for I, but anything you put, it doesn't matter. But just know whatever you want to do should refer to I. So if I say for I in code, for example, print I. So it will print I, it will print each of the letters. So it goes through code, print the first one, goes through code, print the second item. So that's what that is for. So you could say for C in this. So this is also an if statement. So if there's something called is alpha, that's why I put hint use is alpha. So the idea for is to just go browse and what does is alpha means and what does is digit means. So if C dot is alpha, so it's trying to say if for everything. So I'm going through one by one. So to look, is L alphabet? If L is alphabet, do something. Is K alphabet? Yeah. If C is alpha, do something. Remember when I talked about list, we talked about adding items to a list. So you could do dot append. You could do so the alpha. So if it's alpha, you do alpha, your alpha list dot append C. So what it's trying to say is go through each item in code. If it's for each of the item, if it's alphabet, add it to the list I created called alphabet. Then elif, so if that condition is not met, that's not met, you can do elif C dot is this digit. So it depends on whatever. You could do L because if it's not alphabet, it would be numeric, right? You could do elif C dot numeric. Yeah, or is digits, whatever you want to use. Then I say number. So I will do digits. Let me just spell it out. Digits dot append C. Yes, it's digits. So what this is doing is, if any of them, so wherever you have alphabet, add it to the alphabet symbol. If it's digit, the alphabet list. If it's digit, add it to digit list. Yeah. So right, what's this? Numeric. So it should be numeric. It's numeric. Sorry, what did I do? It's numeric. Yeah. So what did this do? It went through my list. By the time I print alphabets, alpha, it gets out all the alphabets in my list. Yeah, all the alphabet. Then if I print digits, it prints out all the digits in it. So it has just gone through, picked out all the alphabets and picked out all the digits and created a new list for me there. And that is it. Yeah. So what was the other question then? Sum. So yeah, because digits now, so if I print out type digit is it will show you that it's a list. Type digit is a list. The individual element in it is a string, but we have to convert this to an integer to be able to add it, to carry out, because you can't really carry out numeric operations on strings. So to convert this to a string, there are different ways you could do this. You could just come here and do. And if I do, for example, int C, so it's converting each of the items in the digits to an integer. This is what this does. If I run this, if I print out digits again, you see that it's now a number. They are no longer strings. So this is a way to convert from your string to an integer. Then I can come here and do sum. So I can say print sum of digits. So I'm adding everything in the digits. By the time I print, everything adds up to 30. Yeah, so it adds C to, you remember this C can be anything. I just chose C. You can put, for example, if I put this as let's say make it C, for example, just make sure I change every other thing where I called it to C. Then to do the average, like what's average, the total minus the count. So I could just do print out the sum of digits divided by the length of digits. Yeah, so that's your mean. Yeah, I think we already spending one here. So now I want you to print out the length of the list. So first of all, you know how to print out length. So I have to run this first. Then I do animals, print animals. Yeah, so this is, I mean the length rather, length animal. Yeah, then I want you to kind of sort this list using the last item. So a lot of people did this animals dot sort did reverse equals true. So this is what some people did. Yeah, so what this does is just sorts it from the back to the front, like rather than from A to Z, it sorts it from Z to A. But what the question was using this last item so that all the ones with A comes first before. So one way to do that is first of all to set a function. Remember we talked about function. So what you can decide to get a function, we define a function called last word where it takes in X, for example. Remember our function last week, function, and return the last letter in X. So this is function A, right? So you could say, then you can now come to your sorts. It could be your animals.sort now. Animals.sort. Then you put in your key. There's an argument called key in animals.sort. To know what you have, you just do Alt and Tab. Sorry. So when you did do this, you could do your Shift tab. It shows you all the things you can do inside that given method. So it shows you can put anything here, so whatever you want to sort. Then you have a key and you have reverse. So the key is usually a function. By the time you press your plus, you see other things you can do within that function or within that method. So but a key usually a function. With this I could put key is equals to last word, so that I'm calling back my function. By the time I print out animals, you see that it's sorted based on the last word in each of the item. Yeah, I hope this is not confusing. Another way to do it is also use the lambda function. The lambda function is like a pseudo function, a small function. So rather than writing this function out, I could just do this animal dot sort, then I do lambda equals to lambda x. So it's like a function, you call in your arguments. So this is the argument you are calling, then what you want to do, and you just call it x minus 1. So if you look at it, it's still the same thing with what you have here, but it's just like having everything in one cell rather than printing it out. So by the time I do this and I print out animal, it still does the same thing for me. Yeah, so it depends on whatever you want to go for. So a lot of people did this. That's absolutely fine. But as like I said, there are different ways to do certain things. So you just need to know the different ways you can do certain things and how you can go about it. So whatever you choose is totally fine. Yeah. Fortunately said we used lambda. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So I said okay, create. So this is also looping through. So I assume that we would have covered this in our last class, but we couldn't. So, but yeah, that's why I put in a link to read out on Python loops on how to loop through items. So I say create two empty lists called even number equals to empty. So the same thing we did with the alphabet and digits. Yeah. Then another one called odd number is equals to empty. Right. Then I say loop through range of numbers. So by the time I do, for example, I do 4, I can do R in, remember that can be anything in range 50. Or example, it goes through from everything from 1 to 50. And I said, before I do anything, let me even print what my I would turn out to be. Print I, and this is going to be what? Let me just make it 10 for now. 10, yeah. By the time I print, sorry, this is I, because remember our I was something we used initially, so these two have to correlate. So whatever I'm printing, they have to be the same. So you start from 0, print to everything, but it didn't include 10 because it's the range is from 0 to 9, basically. So now I want to do from range to 50. What do I want to do now? So with a for loop, you say what you want to, like you say, put a condition or whatever you want to do. Then you put the next line, you have to include your indentation and say what do you want to do. I can say if R is equals to if R divided by 2. So there is this function, I think I would have taught this before now, but sorry about that, but that's still fine. So there's this function when you use your modulus, it shows the remainder. So before I do this, I could do something like this. If I say 7 divided by 2, what would that give me? That would give me 3, remainder 1. Yeah? So it's like 7 divided by 2, you have 3, and you have 1 remaining. But if I do this 7 using 7 modulus 2, it gives me the remainder and not the actual value. If I do this, it gives me the whole number. So it does not include the remainder. But if I do this, put in this modulus, it gives me the remainder. So the remainder is 1. And to get even numbers are numbers that when you divide by 2, you get a whole number, you don't have remainder. Those are even numbers. So it's okay. Using the same principle, if I divide by 2 is equals to 0, that means definitely like there's no remainder. So for example, if I do 6 divided by 2, 6 is an even number, 6 divided by 2 is 0. So if 6 divided by 2 is 0, that means it's an even number, right? I can now do even number dot append R. Then I could do else odd number dot append R. Do you understand what this does? It looks like, okay, if it's an even number, append it to even number. If it's an odd number, append it to odd number equals to 0. Now let's be saying it. So equals to, double your equals to sign is trying to, it's more like giving a condition. Is this equals to this? If you are using one equals to, it's like you're assigning a new variable. But with the double equals to, is asking like, it's giving like a condition. Does this equate this? More like. So by the time I print out my even number. So that I have only even numbers here. And by the time I print out odd numbers, it prints out all the odd numbers in it. Yeah, I think that's more straightforward. I think this other one is very also easy. To create a function, you define the function you want to create. So I can say create a function radius, area. I could call it area of circle just to make it explainable. It's the area of circle. Then what's your argument and what's my radius? It takes in radius. It takes in the radius. So what do I want this to do to calculate the area of the circle? What's the area of the circle? Is pi r squared. So you have to know do you want to define what your pi is? So you have pi and r. Your r is already your radius. So how do you get your pi? So yeah, there are two ways to do this. You already know that pi is equal to 22/7. So you could say pi equals to 22 divided by 7. And you could say, okay, area, you can now say return area, not area now, return pi times radius squared. Then using this tool shows that it's square. So using one asterisk, you are multiplying. Using two asterisk, you are squaring it. Yeah. So this is, by the time you run this, if I want to print my area of a circle, you can say area of a circle. If I make my radius, for example, let's say 7, it returns it as 154. So you could use your calculator to do this calculation by r squared. What this is it. You could also do something again. You could also do a second way. Rather than specifying your pi is equals 22/7, you can import the math function. There's a function you like to call math to calculate your math operation. So you could say, okay, define, let's do area of circle 2. So then this same thing takes in radius. Let me just make it r. Takes it r means radius. And I can say, yeah, I can say pi. Not pi now. I could just maybe area. So there are different ways to do it. You could just say return, have it in a line. I could say, okay, let my area be equals to pi. What's my pi? I'll do math dot pi. Yeah, and I do times radius. No, I have r this time. R. I could choose to do this r squared, or I could just do r times r. Because r times r is still r squared, right? So I could do this, and I would say at the end, return from me area. Yeah. By the time I do this, okay, it gives you the same thing. If I still put 7, it still returns the same thing. This just approximates it. Yeah, but it's still the same thing. So whichever way you want to go with the math function. Sometimes it's going to go, but since like pi is a universal, this will be 2/7 or 3 point something. So it depends on whatever you want to go for. You want to use this r times r or using r squared or radius squared, whatever you want to do, you do. Then this last question is still the same thing. Define. I love functions a lot because it just makes your life easy for you. Yeah. So I could say we should call the function square that takes in a number. You can put the number. Then you can say, so the same way you can decide to specify, okay, square, let's say square, I can do square is equals to number, do this and do return square. So whatever you want to do is best. You can say, okay, return using number times number or number this. So whatever I can call square and do 7 returns 49. If I do 9, it returns 81. So this is just, so if you have a lot of this to do, just keep calling it and that is it. Thank you for watching till the end of this video. I hope you found it interesting and enlightening. I would like to know which of these was most difficult for you. How many did you attempt? Out of the 10 questions, how many did you get correctly? I'll be waiting for your answers in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you on the next one.